Hello, everybody, and top of the morning to ya if you're on the East Coast of United States, and welcome back to Magic and Miracles 2, where we discuss everything else other than SPs, such as entrepreneurship, how to become successful, not just monetarily, but spiritually, and how to ultimately maneuver certain situations in life to your benefit. Psychology, understanding the depth of your own psychology as well as other people's. And I'm very much into psychology. I took psychology classes extensively. I am fascinated by detective stories, but most importantly, I've been a coach for 10 years. 3 years on YouTube now. You might know me from my original channel, Magic and Miracles, where it kind of shaped itself in a way where we discuss relationships only. So, which I'm happy to oblige. And so I've developed this signature coaching program specifically for the YouTube audience, of which I recommend 2 to 3 months in me. Give me 2 to 3 months of your life and I'll quantum leap you. If you don't resist me and if you're humble and open to my suggestion, regardless of what you think you may have done in the past, and it's not to discredit it, I completely understand, but I just have that extra oomph, I'm told, extra kick in the ass, metaphorically speaking, that will ultimately get you there. Again, if you don't resist me, if you don't rebuttal me. So if you want to be in my coaching, you need to book a 1-hour session first. The links are below, and we discuss during the session how I can be of help. You always walk away with advice, regardless if we continue coaching together. But if you do make up your mind that this is the right match for you, we both have to agree in that sense. But if you decide to continue, you're very much expected to book the signature coaching program immediately after you come to this conclusion. Upon maybe like that day, okay, you have to let me know. The reason is because I have only that many spots in my coaching, because I'm one person and I just need to, first come, first serve, that kind of situation. So you need to pre-book, and we rendezvous in that coaching package 3 times per week via Zoom or via phone call. Everything's recorded. I take you step by step through my coaching program. We cover your history extensively. We definitely process emotions that keep you stuck in your cycle. And the third step is obvious manifestation. This is really rough kind of representation, but what I pride myself in, essentially how I differ spectacularly from other coaches, from what I heard and have evidence of, their practice lacks depth, and I really pride myself in this endless desire and fascination of finding out as much information about the client as possible in order to be able to help them best and be able to rework their beliefs and rework their perspective on life. Their energy needs to change in overall, but you cannot achieve that without going deep. And so I pride myself with being very thorough, and that, you'll find it very, very necessary. If you're going to do this correctly, that's the only way to do it. If you have any questions, please email me, or you can comment. Either way, you need to reach out upon booking the session and let me know when is a good time for you to do so, and if you prefer Zoom or phone call. All right, so I'm very inspired for some reason to record this. And usually when I'm always inspired to record for my channels, especially when it's an audio. It means it's like right there. I cannot talk it down and I start recording. That's my channeling practice. But it's not a subject I was going to talk about, is my point. And I'm feeling the call, and this is how I know that somebody needs to hear it. So the title of this subject, this audio, how to dismantle the narcissist's game. Now, it's a lot easier than you think, and I feel like it's such a disservice to the public and people of all sorts in general, when I see these channels dedicated solely to scaring the shit out of people, talking about how demonic narcissists are, they're extremely weak people. You have to understand, you just got to start with that. They're extremely weak, unregulated, mentally ill people. Stop demonizing fucking narcissists. You run circles around this person, no matter who they are. I don't care how rich or poor. They don't have to be poor, but I don't care how much money they have. Let's put it this way. I don't care their age. They all act the same. And it kind of really helps. Everybody's on a spectrum. I always say that. But the rule book is just ridiculously identical in each situation. And I'm going to tell you this. And this is, I grew up with a narcissistic mother. I was married twice. And one of my husbands, for sure, was a narcissist, like a really toxic one. Turned out to be. I wasn't prepared for that. And, along the way, I've encountered in workplace and etc. These are, you're coming off with the wrong assumption looking at these people, that these people operate by the same rules as you. They don't. They don't have the same standard, nor will they ever have. Okay, their impression of the world is entirely, like, you think you can be sad or depressed on any given day. Take your worst day of depression, and that's their life. Okay, so you will never do to them in that sense, or revenge or whatever that, you may concoct with your human mind. It will never top what they're already going to do to themselves, right? So every time a narcissist came against me, and I completely understand the feelings around it, because, chances are, listen, you're dealing with a mentally ill person. I think this should be like a kind of starting point. And I'll get into this in just a little bit. So none of it makes sense. I think really we should be able to talk about this quite openly and just say narcissism is a mental disease. It just is. It just is. The things they do not make sense. So I understand the feelings that you might have surrounding the situation, because you're human and you're normal. You're not mentally ill. And the things that they may have done up until now, or maybe you're in the process, or maybe you're trying to heal from their, the damage that they have caused. I understand the feeling is rage. I understand the feeling is frustration. I also understand it's very painful because, like I said, I've been there many times. And the thing, though, is that if you really put everything in its place, it becomes optional to get involved with that mama drama panorama, as I call it. Their fucking bullshit that they're trying very hard to project on you. They need to find somebody else to be miserable with, or to project their misery on, to blame somebody, to find the scapegoat, all that stuff, because they're not capable of looking at themselves honestly. They're not capable of being vulnerable and honest. And so can you imagine then, right, based on what I just said, how dark it must be, again, to be them, in order to be so scared to look inside? Because all the answers are inside. And what's scary, side note here, there are a lot of narcissists. I don't know why I'm surprised, but there are a lot of narcissists in the manifestational community. It's a scary shit. Scary side. Scary side. I'm all for exposing fucking narcissists. That is not a joke. A narcissist can really harm people's psyche, something terrible. As you know, So I'm all for exposing these fake people who pretend to be something that they're not, purely getting into these positions for praise and adoration only, for likes and subscribers. That's catastrophic. But side note closed. And so you're dealing with a mentally ill person. Okay, a mentally ill person does not deserve your involvement into their drama panorama, because you understand logically, the sane human that you are, is that if somebody's mentally ill, how could you hold them in the same on the same level with a sane person? You're not going to resent them anymore as much as you probably do right now. If you just put this through the prism of the fact that there must be something wrong with this person if they're doing X, Y, and Z, basically trying to project their pain, their void, because that's how they feel. They feel like a nobody. That's why they borrow personalities and put on somebody else's personality. They don't have their own. They're kind of like an empty robot like that. There's nothing there. They constantly are looking for validation from the outside. And when they are attacking you or whatever the fuck they're doing, they're yet again out of their pain looking for any kind of reaction out of you. And this is where, I think this will be of tremendous help to you. The number one thing that the narcissist is trying to get out of you is energy, because they don't have their own on a metaphysical level. On the kind of the human level, what they really are working for here is emotion. Any kind of emotion validates them. Anger, frustration, remarks, anything, praise or negative, doesn't matter. In the minute that you disconnect and you stop reacting and you purely look at them and observe them for who they really are, a completely demented person who doesn't know which side is up anymore, and have convinced themselves of their own lies so much, there's a visible at this point disconnect. And the older they get, the worse it gets. So at this point, it's a visible disconnect with reality, and it becomes blatantly obvious to you that the most effective way to dismantle their game is to completely disengage. Neutrality. If you can achieve that, you've got it made, babe. Because it isn't about you. You're not this horrible person. You've never been. They never pick on horrible people. They pick on the creme de la creme, on the best of the best that they can find, somebody who, is doing better than them, somebody who's prettier in their estimation, somebody who's richer, somebody who is more, whatever, that they feel really threatened by their little childlike ego, Because in their real moments, whatever that fucking is, even in their glimpses, which, out of the 100%, maybe it's like 0.1% kind of situation, they will tell you what they really think about you. And that is always like, they think you're amazing. They think you're beyond amazing. But this is exactly why they're trying to destroy you. And the smear campaigns and the the gang stalking and the stalking on their own, and I'm telling you, it's like they're following the same rule book. Stalking is, if you have a narcissist in your life, they're fucking stalking you. And that's the sad part. And this I'm going to tell you because, again, it's part of the rule book. All of these smear campaigns is really just, they're telling a story about themselves. That's another one that I really want you. So no emotion. Understand you're dealing with a mentally ill person who's really, really wounded inside. Doesn't know how to help themselves because it's terrifying to them, right? They're a child. They never grew up. In that sense, that's why their finances, they put themselves in situations that are very hard to come out of, and eventually having no regard for, like laws, socially accepted norms of behavior, like stalking is not part of normal behavior, one would say. I think we can agree on that. Cyber stalking, cyber harassment, all of these threats, doing really dark, deeply disturbed shit. And I know you have your own story. I have my own stories. I mean, one of them is my drug addict ex, who was a narcissist, complete, like total narcissist, put spyware on my computer, a federal crime, something that could get him life in prison. Okay, they always cross that line. They have no regard. They think they can do whatever. One of my husbands threatened me on email, something that he thought that he could get away with. This is what got him arrested and put into jail. They never have the regard for boundaries. So much so they put themselves in these really precarious positions that they will never fish themselves out of in a million fucking years. And that's the sad part. This is why they're gonna do it to themselves. You're never going to do anything. You can defend yourself, certainly, right? You can call the police, you can whatever. If you're in a lawsuit with them, you can defend yourself with the truth. And again, I want to stress, it isn't that scary. This is just what this person necessitates to be handled with harsh steps. Because there will be no reasoning with this person. Make no mistake. I don't care if you're in love with them right now. I don't care, again, it depends. It depends on the spectrum. But if they've demonstrated to you that they are not your friend more than once, just completely disrespecting you in your face, how can you, that's kind of the end of it. They demonstrated to you who they really are. You can save your love for another person who's really worthy. How about fucking that? Because that shit that you're seeing right now, it's just gonna get worse. And like I said, there is no reasoning with them because they're pathological liars. You'll never get to the bottom of it talking to them. Talking is a waste of time with them. There needs to be action. There needs to be action. If you are to dismantle this game, if you are set on becoming normal again, your life needs stability. Your life, your mood, the way you feel translates in, your health, the kind of money you make, the kind of money you don't make. Your relationships, all of that. That's a heavy-duty price to pay for a mentally ill person, wouldn't you say? So actions are necessary. And the first order of business, I want to underline 300 million times again, is to completely detach emotionally and start understanding what you're really dealing with here. It appears as a person who is capable in moments to look and appear as a normal person. But the scary shit is that when they are acting this way, when they're acting normal, quote unquote, they're mimicking somebody. And ain't that some shit? They don't know how to appear human. So let that sink in. You can go round and round in circles, try to understand them. You will never, they themselves don't understand what the fuck they're doing. It's not logical. It's like the weirdest zoo you've ever been in. Only banking on your emotion. Understand that your emotion there is king. Take away the emotion, the game falls the fuck apart. You're not that horrible person they're trying to make you out to be. You're actually the most wonderful, amazing person. Okay? And this is why they are feeding off of your energy. Take away your energy, their game is shattered. It's burned down to the ground. And there's certain things, that I teach in my coaching in particular, things that have helped me to disconnect energetically. from toxic people. And this is something you should be doing anyway, on a daily. I mean, we all interact with people, different people, and it's amazing how, especially if you're an empath, you take on a lot of other people's bullshit. And when you really become disciplined about it, I had to become disciplined about it. Like in 2012, I said it was amplified for me. And I couldn't, so many narcissists dropped out of my life around that time. It was ridiculous. And you need to know your energy. In this way, you will never accept somebody else's bullshit. You will be able to recognize it. Oh, that's your bullshit you're trying to bring over here. No. No thanks, darling. That's your crap. Go deal with it in therapy, kind of situation. But that's a strong boundary. That's a strong representation of knowing what the fuck is going on. And, you can read books on narcissists. You can watch many videos on narcissists. I think if somebody ultimately disrespects you and lies to your face, and you know that gut feeling, this is the beginning of their shenanigans. Cut that shit off. If you're that lucky person who's listening to it, having not yet suffered tremendously, just cut that shit off. Move on. Trust me, if you're doubting, I've had this happen to me in the beginning of my renaissance as a person of, shall we say, newfound worth 15 years ago when I started dating. I shut down a guy like that. And then I thought to myself, maybe that was harsh. Still, the people pleaser came out in me and started arguing with my fucking intuition. And I said to the universe, I want to find out if I was correct. And sure enough, he texted me something within a day or two, something very short, that confirmed indeed that this was a very toxic person, because the things that he chose to say to me was like, okay, thank you very much. It's always about how they treat you. They can only wear the mask for so long because it's tiring. Let's face it. Nobody can pretend to be somebody else for that long. It just doesn't exist, And people aren't stupid, all right? That's the other thing. And I'm going to leave you with this because, listen, I can go on forever. And maybe I'll record more than one. Not to make this another channel on narcissists. God, no. We have enough. I just mock. I just have fun with them. Listen, if you just can take away these experiences as a study in psychology, just understanding how they operate, and basically being a good connoisseur of people, then it's not time wasted. And that's the way, I look at every experience. And if you're able to observe and not involve yourself, you will learn a lot. And in excuse me, and in the process, you will entertain yourself with knowing like 10 moves ahead, because like I said, they're predictable. Nothing new that was invented by them in, I don't know how many years that they've existed. So I leave you with this, darling loves. Don't fight, don't argue, don't waste your precious energy as much as possible. Of course, in certain situations, probably is challenging, maybe like divorce, etc. Keep yourself out of it emotionally as much as possible and hold on to your natural good vibe. The situation will disintegrate on its own, because as long as they're not able to affect you energetically and emotionally on metaphysical and on the physical level, they don't have any game with you. It doesn't work. It only works if you consent to the drama being real and not just made up in their, demented psyche kind of situation. That's all their hope. That's all the house of cards is built on, is your reaction. If they don't have the manipulative tactic over you, that control over you, they have Nothing. In the minute that you overstep their lies, meaning in your mind, it's irrelevant. I'm overstepping your lies. I'm overstepping your threats. I'm overstepping your blackmail. Experience that. Overstepping every fucking shit that you think that you have against me that is totally concocted. And that's the thing. Listen, by doing all this shit, they're digging their own grave, metaphorically speaking. Or maybe literally, because listen, energetically, when you're wishing somebody ill, your health goes. I mean, narcissists do it to themselves, like I said. Their health goes, finances go. Don't care how much money they have or don't have. It is all gonna go. It's all gonna go down the motherfucking drain because energetically, it's a black hole kind of situation. So stay away from the black hole, deal with it in white gloves, and the game will disintegrate on its own. Just maintain your sanity, maintain your good mood. Thank you very much for listening. All the information from me is below. Until next time, ciao, ciao.